Ladies and gentlemen, let's Gaming Silicon video. Ubisoft. In 2014, they took a little bit of heat, to say the least. Most specifically, a lot of this, of course, was Assassin's Creed Unity and Watch Dogs. Watch Dogs in particular was mired by concerns over graphical downgrades, and we all know about the PC issues where it was very easy, of course, to unlock those extra graphics that many we'd seen in E3 demos. But the company are not going to be doing that anymore. In fact, they said that they will only be showing games at E3 that are, and I quote, playable on target hardware. They were speaking with The Guardian, and the CEO said, and I quote, with E3 2015 we said, okay, let's make sure the games are playable and they're running on the target machines. When we show something, we ask the team, make sure it's playable, make sure the gamers can immediately see exactly what it is. And we're incredibly happy with the sales of the game, they're of course referring to Watch Dogs, and the experiences that people were having. So it is a franchise, and it goes into the franchise barn, and now we have to figure out what we're going to be doing next. It's something that we can build on now. So, ending quote for a second, I kind of want to discuss this. Even though the quote's not particularly massive, I do feel it's a bit of an implication. Ubisoft got absolutely hammered in the press for a couple of different incidents with Assassin's Creed. One of them, of course, was the female protagonist thing, which they're changing for the latest iteration. Of course, there's a male and female. But the big one was the problems with the frame rate and graphics of Unity. There were a myriad, and they ran, of course, not only over the console iterations, but the PC as well. Now, one of the big reasons behind this was supposedly the enormous size of the crowds, and it basically was rather overwhelming. And the engine just couldn't really cope. Even on a really high-end PC, there were also some performance issues, particularly if you're going into new areas. And there were also some hilarious bugs as well. We've all seen the memes about the faces and all that jazz, and people's clothing changing. With Watch Dogs, I feel that rather than not enough time in the oven, I'm sorry, I just managed to accidentally knock over a game with my foot, which was not very ideal. With Watch Dogs, I feel it was actually worse because it was like we saw what it could have been. Now, we all know the reasoning behind it. It wasn't because they didn't have time to, you know, make the trees look shiny. It was simply because the hardware, more specifically the consoles, just weren't able to run it. And they did also say that PCs weren't able to do it. But of course, that's never a good excuse, because if you've got, let's face it, if you've got like a, let's just say that you're targeting the machine now, and yes, most people are probably not going to have like a 980 Ti, most people are not going to have like a Fury. So if you're targeting a machine to run that game at those settings at, let's say, 1440p, then you're going to have some problems. But, you know, in a year's time, PC hardware moves on so fast, so it's not that big of a deal. It does upset some customers, and some people will cry about it not being well optimized, but if the game looks absolutely gorgeous, like, for example, the original Crysis, I think many people can forgive it. I don't really know what to say on this, in that it's kind of like, well, duh. I mean, I feel that running the game, running hardware at E3, it should be on a machine that clearly is able to run the game at those settings. In other words, you're probably not... Actually, I'll take that back. You know what? I will take that back. I don't mind what machine they run it on. I don't care if it's a high-end PC, which is like an SLI Titan rig with like 15 billion gigabytes of RAM and, you know, more SSDs than what Amazon carry. That's all fine, but just make it so that that's what the game looks like when you do have those settings at max. Because otherwise I feel that it's just not cool, basically. If it requires users to mod the bloody game for, you know, several months after launch, then that becomes a problem. And I also feel, and this is my own personal opinion, that console gameplay and PC gameplay should be defined. So if you're seeing the game, it should be clear that yes, this is PS4 footage, or yes, this is clear that this is Xbox footage or PC footage. And sometimes this has been made abundantly clear, so there's no getting away from it. But if you're using, like, for example, an Xbox One pad for a PC port of the game to show it off, then that's also a little bit disingenuous. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I want to know what your thoughts and opinions on this one. I mean, to be honest, for me, it's kind of like, well, no shit, Sherlock. It just makes sense. It's like, make it so that if you're running a high-spec PC, use that if you want the game to look as best as possible. And fair enough for tech demos, and say, hey, in 3 years' time, this is where we could potentially be. I have no problem with that. Like, for example, the Samaritan demo. We have all seen what the Samaritan demo looks like, or the Elemental demo. You can search for them on this channel if you want more information. And, you know, where we saw what Epic said they could do if they had X amount of GPU performance and X amount of CPU performance. Not a problem. Not a problem at all. But when it comes to actual raw gameplay, that's a problem, because then people will rake you over the coals for the smallest things, particularly when it comes to downgrades. And you will get people who will make the gifts. They will be, and I'm not attacking any particular company or any forums or anything like that, but people on NeoGAF, for example, they're due diligent. They will find the stuff. They will find stuff that's like, you know, E3 2012, because you're dealing with thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. So someone on the internet will say, hey, this trailer looks a little bit different from this latest gameplay video that you released. You know, this 2014 trailer doesn't quite look like this 2015. The graphics should be progressing, not, you know, retrogressing. Anyway, just my sense on the matter. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.